This is Radio 97. It's Talking Law with Despina Priala. Do you have a question to do with the law? I'm Despina happy to answer it for you. Just go to the website, radio97.com.au. Right on the front page there, you'll find a couple of ways to contact us. So put your question into an email and send it to us. Just go to radio97.com.au. And you'll find the email and a couple of other ways to contact us there. radio97.com.au.
And this is quite an interesting segment. So it's been 100 years now since the death penalty was abolished in Queensland. But Despina, I find it quite interesting because we've laughed at the fact that Queensland are kind of far behind when it comes to abolishing or putting in new legislation, yet they were the first to do this back in the day.
Exactly. I found that fascinating myself, that, yes, Queensland's typically known as the state that's the last state to conform or to get up to date. Perhaps that's changing in recent years. But, yes, Queensland became the first place in both Australia and the British Commonwealth to abolish the death penalty, and that was done on the 31st of July, 1922. So I found that very interesting, and if you are an advocate of the abolition of capital punishment, then you'll be very pleased if you live in the state of Queensland that we were the first. And of course, I'd like to run through how long it took then for the other states and territories in Australia to also abolish the death penalty, so that in Australia we are now obviously a country free of the death penalty in every jurisdiction.
Okay, well, Queensland got the first jump there, but it took decades for the rest of Australia to catch up.
Yes, and of course I wasn't alive at that time, so I can't really, unless I looked into it extensively as to why. But if we went through the different states and territories in terms of the year dates, and perhaps some of the listeners out there might recall. So I believe that the next state was Victoria, from what I have looked up briefly, around 1951, and then New South Wales in 1955. And then we had Tasmania, 1968. And following that, we had ACT and the Northern Territory in 1973, abolished capital punishment. And then, of course, we had, this is the last state, isn't it? WA, 1984.
It's not even that long ago. It's wild.
Well, no, that's right. Not when you think about it. So 1984 was the last year. So then you could say definitely by 1985 in this country, all the jurisdictions were free of capital punishment. So over the years, of course, comment on whether capital punishment should be reignited.
And what do you think of that as a possibility? Because of course, social mores change. Our views change. They ebb and flow over the years. Do you think we would ever get back to that point where it might become law again?
Look, I don't think that we'll have capital punishment again in the way that the community is moving, with different laws being passed. And different, I suppose, protection laws. In saying that, look, over the years, of course, comments have been made that capital punishment, you can look at it from this point of view, and that is that it is the most meditated of murders of itself, from that perspective. And those that support and that did support the abolition many years ago would understand that comment. And there was a classic case years ago where this very issue was discussed, and that was the Chamberlain case. Yes, and of course.
Everyone has an opinion on it too.
Yeah. Of course, and that's the court of public opinion, and that has changed. I think social media has just made that worse in some ways, or exacerbated. But back then, when that case was being trialled, of course, people were saying, yes, bring back the death penalty for this particular matter, or for the future. There was a lot of discussion about that. Obviously, that didn't happen. And I think part of that in the history of this has always been that we have had this broad bipartisan support from the government. So, meaning we've always had support from both sides of the fence, from the two main parties, for ensuring that capital punishment remains abolished. And I don't think that's ever going to change in the future. So I mean, it's a space to watch. People can comment. If people are interested, I know that there is an event happening in Brisbane to mark the 100th anniversary of the repeal of capital punishment in Queensland. It's a special
bizarre.
event. Yes, I know.
What?
But there is. It's a special event that's going to be held in the Premier's Hall of Brisbane's Parliament House between 10:30 a.m. and 8:30 p.m. on Monday, the 1st of August. So if anyone is interested, they can attend that special event, and it will be hosted by the Speaker of the Queensland Parliament, Curtis Pitt, and it will also include a keynote address by the former High Court of Australia Judge, the Honourable Michael Kirby, of course, the esteemed Michael Kirby. So they will be there as guest speakers if anyone's interested. Of course, there will probably be a discussion, a brief or not, about the history of capital punishment, yes, and about how the abolition of capital punishment came about. And I believe before in Queensland it was abolished, there were approximately 94 people that were hanged. And I think that happened in Moreton Bay, if I'm not mistaken, from around 1830 to 1913.
Wow.
Yeah, that is the part of the history in this state.
Yeah, so interesting. Well, thank you again for joining us, Despina from boutique law firm Priala Legal. If anyone does want to get in touch with you about the law, if they have any questions at all, where can they go?
So they can phone the office 55291 294, or they can email info@prialalegal.com.au. And I will be uploading the segments by the end of the week or the weekend for anyone who's missed the segment or only caught the end of it.
And you're off next week.
Yes. So next week I'm away. I'm actually taking a week off
Woo!
On leave. Yes, finally after 3 years. So it's only a week, but yes, I won't be here next week. So no show next week, but I will be back the following week.
Enjoy your break.
Thank you. I intend to.
Bye.